NBC News reporting that U.S. officials expect Israel's response to Iran's attack over the weekend to be limited in scope and likely to involve strikes against Iranian military forces and Iranian-backed proxies outside of Iran in the region. Meantime, global leaders are urging restraint to avoid a deeper conflict in the region. And joining us now is Jon Alterman. He's Center for Strategic International Studies Senior Vice President and Director of the Middle East Program. It's good to have you on, Jon, and that's exactly where I want to start with you, and that is limited. When we talk about limited, I mean, we're talking about two countries and all of the relations and coalitions around those countries really walking a tightrope right now to try and not escalate the situation. So would limited in scope, as we just laid it out, according to NBC's reporting, actually be enough to keep this situation from not escalating further?
The intention from the Israeli side, it sounds like, is just to send a message, we heard you, we're responding. The Iranians immediately sent a message as the rockets and missiles were flying, we don't want to escalate this at all as far as we're concerned. This is done. So you seem to have an effort by both the Israelis and the Iranians not to have this blow up. That's the calculation. But the possibility of miscalculation is still there. A missile goes astray, people get killed who nobody expected to be killed, you have a mass casualty event, and suddenly you're in a whole different situation. It can be completely out of the blue. It can happen, and suddenly in 5 minutes, you're in a totally different world.
The fact that Iran launched this attack, or parts of its attack over the weekend, from inside the country for the first time ever, it's been called an unprecedented attack. Up until this moment, it's been categorized as something of a shadow war. Does this represent a new chapter that we're entering in terms of this dynamic between these two countries and throughout the region?
I think the Iranians were trying to thread the needle. They wanted to respond to what they saw as an unprecedented Israeli attack on Iranian officials in Damascus at a building associated with the Iranian embassy in Damascus. So they felt the Israelis had escalated. They had to find a way to escalate. And I think they wanted a show of force, but not a huge amount of death and destruction. So they seemed to telegraph when this would come, how much they knew we were watching and the Israelis were watching, how much it was because we're very good at watching the Iranians. We've been doing it for decades. I don't know, but it doesn't seem to me a total coincidence that the Iranians launched more than 300 things and 99% of them were shot down. The Iranians said, okay, we're done for now. And so I think the Iranians were trying to just ratchet it up a notch. I think the Israelis want to say, we see you, don't do that again. But I don't think either side really wants to tip over into the abyss in the Middle East, and they certainly can. Hezbollah in southern Lebanon has about 150,000 rockets and missiles. They can go into all of Israel. They can overwhelm Israeli air defenses. 150,000 is a lot different than 300. They would be much closer, and I don't think anybody wants to go there.